It was mostly for the sake of YouTuber bratwurst. I've got this Panasonic TV. I guess can barely see it here. It's a 19-inch color TV, made 1984 or 1985. It's one of the best color TVs I've ever had or used or seen or anything. It has an amazing picture quality. It's unfortunately one of the most embarrassing repairs I've ever done too. As good as this TV was, one of the problems that it developed as it got old is it had a bad solder joint, cold solder joint, and the TV would turn off and you'd have to smack it to get it to turn back on. And this plagued me for probably 10 years, I think. I used very heavy magnification. I studied the board trying to find that cold solder joint with the best of my ability and could not find it. And it did not seem like a cold solder joint. I was pretty convinced by the time I had worked on it a while that it was not a cold solder joint anymore, that it was a bad flyback transformer. And the reason that I thought that is because I could, with it apart, tap on the flyback transformer and make the problem happen. And I could not tap on it anywhere else and make the problem happen. To the best possible of my ability, I can imagine, I had isolated that problem right down to that flyback transformer. I clamped the board in different places to support it and weighted it and everything else, just trying to prove that it really wasn't the flyback, and it just kept seeming like it was. So I ended up trying to replace the flyback, and as you can imagine, a flyback for this TV is no longer available. You'd have to get another TV and cannibalize it just for that, which I guess I wish I would have done. Now, I got a flyback transformer that had the identical part number from somebody, one of these not very reputable online sellers, some company that sells flybacks. They tried to convince me that it was electrically equivalent. You could tell by looking at it that it wasn't. But I was at my wit's end, and I really had nothing to lose, so I soldered in that flyback, which was a really, really bad idea. It caused the smoke to come out of a component, which is a Panasonic RF1. And what it is some kind of excuse me, it's some kind of custom discrete component. It's a semiconductor rectifier that has very peculiar characteristics. And I've had several people try to convince me that RF1 designation is just the component designation for the TV, and there's got to be a different part number. Well, that's not the case. You can find it in Panasonic parts catalogs. It's this RF1. That is the component designation everywhere. That is the actual part number of that component. And of course, that's even harder to get now than the flyback. So someday, what I'd like to do is get another Panasonic TV, hopefully the one that doesn't work, and maybe find that same RF1 component and get this thing working again. Now, the really sad part about this is just after having that happen, I did find the cold solder joint. I don't remember exactly how I found it, but under serious magnification, it was blatantly obvious that that's what it was. But by then it was too late. The TV will not function anymore until I I can get that RF1 component. But the whole point of this video was because Bratwurst has a Panasonic TV that's a couple years older, and his is clearly made in Japan. This one here is made in the USA, and I don't know if that sticker that I'm pointing at says it right now. I can't see it where I am, and I can't see the phone display where I'm holding it. But somewhere here it tells you that it's made in the USA at some Panasonic factory. So hopefully that's what that says, and it's not making a liar out of me. But I do know that the board inside says made in USA too, which the first time I took this thing apart I was surprised about that. Anyway, here I am making another video longer than what I needed to. I could have said this in a sentence, I suppose. So if you stuck around this long, thank you so much for watching.